Don't be going stir crazy. There are still plenty of opportunities to get outside this January.
Our language core. And remember, if I'm going too fast, you can always go to YouTube and type the program name, you will find it. The 71st episode, I'm going to talk about the relationship between a SIF and how it become the same word to become a settlement, and also where your house is, your base. Okay, so since I prepare also a lot of slides, so I'm not going to waste time. I try to go as slow as I can, but please go to YouTube again if I'm going too fast. Okay, so here it is. I will start the slides. This is the basket starfish. As you can see, again, I'm presenting my idea to you as an Asian female traveler, and because I don't believe that we are different family trees, from different roots. We are sharing one single core, which already existed a long time ago, since ancient time, and because believed in separate tree family only usher in human hierarchy. So I think this need to be changed. And since you only hear the academic world from a very Western perspective, I'm going to present to you from a very Asian perspective, using my ability to read pictograph to share with you what I see with cuneiform and also hieroglyph and all the pictographs. Okay, so I actually found this in the internet. Other than the basket starfish, I keep seeing that you better imagine it, the single core from here, and the branches actually coming out from every single direction and angle. So it's like a ball itself, like a globe. Okay, so as I said, today I'm going to talk about a sieve become a seed and also your settlement. Okay, so the first of all, a very ancient technology. In this slide, I'm going to show you a few different pictographs, like Sumerian, of course. This is how they present, the mat itself. And then later on, you will see that it already have two kinds of pronunciation. One is the kid, which I have talked about again and again, the k and g sound. But this few weeks, I'm going to concentrate on the s sound or the s sound. Okay, so other than that, you can also collect the canes. Again, the k sound, the cane to weave something like that, and then that also in Sumerian carry a sa sound. It actually means through the reed, and also a reed bundle, and also it means a net. Of course, if you go to the river in a less developed country, you will always see that they put this in the river to screen out the fishes. So this is actually acts as a real net. Okay, so this is how the Sumerian present their house, as it's fenced in using this, as you can still see in real life. And this is the Sumerian word for the door, and they add a few of these movement signs. So of course, this is a movable thing. The others are like a wall, not moving all the time, but this is a constantly moving part. So it's a very, very readable signs. Okay, so I will compare it also to other cuneiform. This is also Sumerian. From this to the net to the house, and this is how they present the idea of to sift something out, as you can see here, this one and this one. But I will show you one Chinese pictograph. This is the Chinese oracle bone sign of a mat. So you can see that a mat is also a weave, like the first picture from here. And then this is Chinese writing, the net. Look at this one and look at this one. They're actually very similar. And later on, the Chinese also have these signs, from the basket, the sieve, and also a drain. Okay, so the sound is sai. Look at this is sa, this is sai. And then look at the other direction. This is also the Sumerian, when they put the mat right there and they put a roof, a triangular roof there. This actually adopted by the Akkadian, which they speak like a Semitic language. This is how they present the K sound though. And this is the name of the first city, the Kish, of course, for them it might mean just a base. Okay, So this is for them, you know, like a storeroom, and this is for them the symbol of a house. Look at that. This is a completely adoption of this one, but what they put here is just like this one, the Chinese mat, you know, and also this one, the sif, you know, in the Sumerian. So you will see that it seems that this all three culture, the Akkadian, the Chinese, and the Sumerian, they were already sharing all this symbol a long time ago. Okay, so let's look at further the Chinese sign. This is again, you know, this is the image of a place of lodging. Okay, so of course, you know, you need a roof and then you need a mat. That's all you need. Or if you're colder climate, it will become a carpet, of course, you know. So but in Chinese, it's carried the sound of sao or sok. Okay, and then look at this, another Chinese symbol for the house. You know, look at this. We also have this triangular top, and then this is also like a sif right there, and then it carried the sound of se. Se is also, you know, another type of lodging or a settlement. Look at this. That's why, you know, the seat and or the settlement is also carrying all this very ancient sound. Okay, let me the next slide. I will compare 4 different languages: Sumerian, Akkadian, Chinese, and Hebrew. Okay, you will see that how each of us share the same concept and same sound. Once again, you know, the floor mat carry the K sound and the sa sound, and then the mat with the triangular roof, you know, they have the g and the j sound, and then later on the cuneiform, you know, they change into a shape like a fencing out, you know. Of course, that's your home too, a settlement. All this symbol means your home, your house, your settlement. Okay, and then the Akkadian, again, you know, this will have the key K sound, and it means storeroom. Of course, you know, the wall is always made by a mat or some cane mat like this, you know. So you will see that. And again, I remind you that the Chinese have the mat like this, you know. So this is exactly like sharing the image of the mat there. And then again, you know, when we have a sound like gay is to kneel down on the mat. You will see that really a person is leaning down on the mat. You can see clearly the mat is what there is right there. Okay, so I continue with the Akkadian. The Akkadian have this, you know, as the name of the ancient city of Kish. This is the first named city in the ancient world. Okay, and then of course, for them it might mean a base where they settle in. Okay, so according to the Akkadian, this again the ge sound keep changing, and then it means the house, the abode. So it actually follows the same tradition, the ge sound, as the home. Okay, and let's look at the Chinese. The Chinese, definitely we have the ga and the gu, meaning the home, and in this word we put an animal there. And then in Mandarin it actually carried the sound jia. It's as if the Sumerian already got, you know, different dialects exactly like the Chinese functioning now. Okay, but the sound is exactly the same, ga and ja, ga and ja. Okay, it means home. And again, the Chinese have this conserve this rooftop, and we have the se as a kind of lodging. And again, this pronounced as sok or sao. That means a lodging, our home. Okay, let's look at Hebrew. Sok actually means a booth or pavilion. Look at the Chinese picture right there. It's as if the Chinese picture sok and sok, and you know, Cantonese pronunciation is sok. Okay, the Hebrew pronunciation is also sok, but the Chinese picture actually explain the Hebrew word, or the Hebrew also have another symbol representing the same sound. Actually, it also pronounced as sok right there. This, you should look at it as an S2. It also means a booth or hut. It's definitely used at a different time to mean different kind of lodging. Sometimes, you know, the ancients are very precise, whether you're talking about a tent, you know, made of animal fiber, or you're talking a hut making of cane and plant fiber. Maybe that's the way they try to distinguish them at that time. Okay, this, you have to be at that time to know the difference, but we only know that they have 2 different spelling but have the same sound to mean the same thing. And of course, the Sukkot become plural, and then this is how the Sukkot become, and this is how you know the festival of Sukkot. This is when the Jews were running away. You know, that's how where they settle is called the Sukkot. You know, the tent itself is called the Sukkot. So you will see that this relationship is very interesting. It seems that in ancient time they all use the same sound to represent the same meaning. Okay, so now I just look at Chinese and symbol, just the two of them, and according to the linguists, they belong to different family trees. Okay, so from this slide, I want to prove to you that we are sharing one single core. We are just different branches. Okay, and this is the Chinese Ga or Gu. Okay, so this is the Chinese Suk or Sao. This is Suk or Sukkot, and the Hebrew also have another word, Ge, a Gu, and exactly means dwelling. But for them, for the Hebrew, for the Jewish people, it means, you know, a foreigners when you're moving, that kind of lodging when you're moving. Okay, so but then you see the sound is actually very similar. But then the Chinese actually have more proofs of that. You have all this different meaning. You will see that people sit, a person kneeling on a mat, also a stylized person sitting on a basket, or you can look at it also as a floor mat, or a person sitting on a bench, or a person actually sitting on a sign pronounced as gu. So you can actually go back to the same sound. Okay, but in the memory of the Chinese, you know, we read it in Cantonese as a gay or gui. Okay, so all these ga, gu, gay, gui all means you settle in one place, exactly as the Hebrew sound right there. Let's look at a very ancient image in the Hebrew world. Okay, this is a synagogue they found in the 1st century in Syria now, and then you will see that this synagogue is called Duro Europo, and you can Google it. And this is one of the mural there. You will see that the Jews were living in the same kind of tent the Chinese pictograph is showing right there. Okay, so of course, you know, when I travel around the Middle East, this is what I always see. You know, this is the same kind of tent. And let's look at how they use the word. You know, and so if you look up the dictionary, it means the site where Jacob put up booths for his cattle and built a house for himself. In the Bible, it actually sometimes, you know, the booth for his cattle, you will see that this is a booth, you know, for the animal. And then in the Bible, they will, when they talk about house, they will use the word bait right there. Okay, so it's not that they are, you know, not using the word sukkot. Definitely this is used, you know, as a sukkot right there. But why they use a bait? And look at Chinese right there. Chinese actually have a word pronounced as pay or pay, and this is exactly also means a very humble house. Look at this. The Chinese distinguish it visually. For this looks like a tent, a house, and for this looks like a cliff, you know. And all those houses where you see near the cliff, we always use a symbol to represent. And this part is actually, you know, a phoneme there. We use it only for the sound right there, but it's exactly pronounced as bait right there in Hebrew, and we say bay, they say bait. Okay, the difference is only the ending. Okay, so the place where they use, you know, the word Sukkot, the first stopping place of the Israeli where they left Egypt. Of course, you can imagine if you move around normally, you will have a tent like this. But if you're running away from the Egyptian, definitely the stopping place, you know, even the wood stays the same. You know, the makeup of the house will be very different because you don't have all those material to carry with, you know. So this will be a very humble house, just like the Chinese bait saying, right? So all the difference is the animal or the plant fiber. So the ancient actually used different words to distinguish for themselves, you know, what kind of lodging it is. Of course, human beings are very, very snobbish. So by looking at the word itself at that time, they actually know what kind of housing these people are living in, whether it's a rich family or whether it's a farmer. So they can distinguish it at that time. Of course, after thousands of years, we only look at them as as a word. We cannot distinguish them, actually as a castle, or actually people live in an apartment building, or people lived in a house, or people lived in a tent. Okay, so this is exactly what happened in the ancient time. Okay, let's move on. And so all these very important evidences I found is from the very first technology of plating and weaving, because I believe when humans started to migrate around, we already carry all those words, because without all those technology we cannot move far, because we need warmth, we need to protect ourselves, so we have to manage all this skill before we spread around. So our ancestor already knew all these words long before. Okay, so if I look at this, this kit and then the sa sound, but today I'm going to concentrate this. The mat is the sa and the net is the sa, and all this you will see that in Sumerian is actually, they tell you, the linguist will tell you they are cuneiform, but if I can teach you how to read it now, it is actually very easy to see that all these actually represent different kinds of screen or basket they are using, because all this either means a bed or a protection, or it means a net, or actually means a sieve. So you can actually read them very easily. They are not cuneiform. You can actually look at them as a pictograph. Okay, so but then if you look at the words, they always change meaning. But you will see that the same sound, sometimes they carry on from material, they change to object, and they become actually verb, what we call grammar these days. But I remind you that Chinese, we don't really have a lot of grammars, and we don't have time. So how is it possible, you will think? But if we Chinese can express ourselves without tenses, without time, without all this, that means human language do not really need them. But so when the linguists pay so much attention in those, so I think it is exactly the grammar that separates us, that we pay much attention to. But if we pay attention to the core sound, we will find our common core. Okay, so again, I will show you the pictures. The picture in cuneiform, in Sumerian cuneiform, this is the symbol of sas, like a grass. If you turn it 90 degrees, you will see that this is a piece of grass. Okay, and the sound is sas. Of course, you can understand it as the sedge you mean, and the reed, the material that you use to weave and to plait. Okay, so the sa carry on. As you can see from here, this is something that I see again and again when I live in less developed places. Okay, this is a net, a reed bundle, and also sometimes it can mean a house. Okay, so this also carries the sound sa, or this, and then you can understand in your modern English as sieve or sieve. Of course, you can use this as a sieve too. Okay, so as time went by, we elevate ourselves, and then the first things that when we elevate the bench right there, of course, at the time we still use a weave surface, and when we enlarge it, you can still see this again. As I talked to you about the cot last time, you can still see all this, scattered all over in Yemen, in India, and also when I was young in Hong Kong, I'm very familiar with this. We're sitting this because, when you plate those surfaces, they become very, very comfortable. So this sage was weaved into a seat, a seat, and the seat is where you sit. That's why you get all those words with this sound too. It become a site, when you set yourself up to settle. So all these words are actually related. Okay, so and also if you use it in a different way, as I say, in a less developed world, you can always understand this. If you put it into the river, it become a seine, because it functions as a net, it functions as a trap to trap fish or animal. Okay, so you can see that Sumerians still have a very easy sign like this. It means a bed, of course. It is a reed, a weave. Okay, and also means a pitfall. Of course, if you put something like this on top of hole, you can use it to catch animal. So it really depends on how you use this material, and that's why in hieroglyph a bundle of reed actually carry also the sound of shed, and shed actually means murderous. It means to kill. Of course, when you use this, as a trap, it actually means to kill. Okay, that's why it's also related to your English word assassin. assassin, and massacre. All these words are actually related because the words keep changing and they keep extended into different meaning. So let me go to the very basic. All you have to in your head is the sedge or the sisal. They are all grass, and I show you the picture of the Persian Gulf. This is the world of Persian Gulf. Why they got rich? Because they have all this raw material. The most basic material were made of. All the earlier basket furniture were all made of this. So the Sumerian has sars, and then the barley. Originally, it was also a reed before it was domesticated. Carried the sound share, and of course, after you eat the grain, the stalk is also used, as a kind of material. You can feed the animal. You can use it for furniture or as a bed. So all these sars, share, share, they are all related to grass. Okay. So this all actually is a sign meaning the life or something living. Of course, a lot of living grass is also the sign of living. But interesting enough, the Chinese is also use a blade of grass to have the same sound, sang or sang, to mean life or living. Okay, we use the same way, sing, a grass to mean life and living. See how they carry the same sound, and then this. As a little bit shifting of sound, but the seed itself, the Chinese is actually a very visual people. From this grass, we actually use, depends on how we lump them together, one piece or two or three or four. We actually use to indicate to ourselves how dense the growth is, So this is a visual thing the Chinese branch off to. But let me go back to the sound itself, okay? The Sumerian has sa as the reed, and the mat, all this the bed. You can actually read them easily now. The Akkadian of shetu, and it means anything woven. Of course, it still follow the tradition. No one invented anything out of the blue. Everything is follow a tradition. The Chinese actually lost the writing, but then we still carry on the sound. All this sa, so, sai also means the sedge, the sisal. We still carry this sound as the material itself. These are all different kind of grass, and you can understand it as the sage. And then the Chinese actually have a very interesting symbol when we lump them together, just like the picture you saw a while ago. It actually carry the sound sa, very much like this, right? San, very much like this symbol right there. And then as time went by, we actually write it like this. Look at this, look at this. It does means the fence, and even if you look at it like this, you can actually lump it up as a fence. Remember, many weeks ago I actually showed you another symbol, but before that you can also see the German sound, the sun means fence. The German sound also means fence. So do you think the German speaks Chinese, or the Chinese are speaking German, or we all speak one core? We all share one core, right? So again, I want you to compare the symbol I showed you many weeks ago. This is our word fan. Okay, and you can see the Chinese visually distinguish them. This is also a hash sign right there. This is how we distinguish it. The fan, this actually means a fence, a natural phenomenon, a fence, or if you build it up in a man-made way, it become a fence. So you see how related our words are. Even in English, we are all linked together. Okay, so now let me look at the sieve. The sedge become the sieve, and sieve and the verb sieves. Okay. And then this is the symbol of Sumerian, the shu. It means actually a sieve, okay? And all this means sieving. You will see all this plant symbol right there. And this Luwian, actually what they believe, the Hittite. Why the Hittite have this actually has sa. And look at all this Chinese symbol. All this has the sound of sa or sao. They all mean a sieve, a net, okay? Look like this. I will show you this. Look at how simple similar they are. And this is actually means, you know, the net for fishing. Look at all this, how similar are they and how similar are the sound. And the Sumerian actually have very similar sound, that if you pronounce it as sao, look at this sao. The difference is just the R, just curl the tongue. The Chinese never curl the tongue. Look at this. And so they are actually basically the same. And look at this. They use an indicator, another indicator, another indicator to mean it's a net. So it is actually very easy to understand. And then the Hebrew actually have the exactly the same sound. Sao. So what sao means is a basket. And Arabic, you know, the same sala. It also means a basket. And the Arabic shabaka, it actually means a net. So it's all in the same category, okay? So just pay attention to the sound, okay? The Chinese has the sai here also. And look at this. The Greek actually has the word set. Set means the nest. And then the Greek has saini. Saini actually means net. Look at this sai, saini is a net. And then, of course, it becomes the English word sign. Sign is actually, you know, your fishing net, okay? So, of course, Latin followed closely, of course, you know, because at that time they actually followed the rule of alphabet pronunciation. So it becomes Shejena, okay? So, but then you can understand that from the very beginning, before alphabet becomes so rigid, the sound were very, very similar, okay? A Sanskrit sich is a net, and then the suna is a basket. Look at this, they all mean the same. And the Chinese also have another thing, and then visually we distinguish them, but it carries exactly the same sound, sa, so, sai, but this case, it doesn't mean the grass. It actually means something loosely woven material. It can mean a piece of cloth, it can mean a net, it can mean a screen, it can mean a veil. Look at this, you know. So Chinese actually use visual to distinguish for ourselves, but look at all these sounds still carry the ancient tradition, okay? I think I have prepared too much, and then I will just stop right here, and I hope you can digest what I tell you, and I hope like all this color this evening, because I want to say Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to you, because the next 2 weeks will be on holiday. So I'll see you after New Year. Happy 2020. I'm going to see you in 2020. And if I'm going too fast, remember to go to YouTube and watch it. Thank you.